Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Chris Kenney here. Welcome to today's Thought Leader Thursday. As always, I'm super happy to be here sharing some valuable information with you. And I think if you've been following me for any period of time, or even if you're brand new, one of the things I want you to understand is that there's a lot of different things that people do that actually prevent high ticket sales from happening. So it's not necessarily what do I have to do all the time to create high ticket sales. It's oftentimes what is it that I have to stop doing in order to allow myself to have high ticket sales. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that people do, some of the things that people think that actually prevent high ticket sales from happening, and then what do you actually do about those things? How do you move through it? So that's what today's session is all about. So let's talk a little bit about, there's three main things that I see that happen here when it comes to things that we think that might stop the high ticket sale. So here's the first one. You get into the enrollment conversation, or you're interacting with someone, you haven't even gotten to the enrollment conversation, and then what ends up happening is you start asking yourself this: can I really help this person? And this is a question that can be incredibly costly to you, and it can be costly to the person that you're interacting with, because as soon as you start to ask yourself, oh my God, can I really help this person? What can happen is you stop attracting high-level people into your experience, because whenever you attract a quote-unquote high-level person, you immediately go into this, oh my gosh, can I really help this person? Can I really help them? Will they really get value from my work? Because what's happening is you're lacking confidence. So one of the things that I had to learn really, really early on is this. If this person is in your experience, if you can't help them, they won't say yes. So important for you to remember this. If you can't help them, they don't end up as a yes. And this is where faith comes in. Once again, you have to be willing to move forward and know and trust that if this is not a good fit, and if this relationship is not supposed to be here, guess what? You're not going to get a yes. So don't paralyze yourself with, oh my gosh, can I help them? Oh my gosh, can I help them? Because if they say yes, guess what? You'll end up helping them. There's a reason that you're in that relationship. And you also have to lean on the fact that in this situation, when somebody comes in, right? If you do help them and they get a tremendous result, well, guess what? That's a win. If they don't get a tremendous result, guess what? It's a learn. It's going to be a learn for you, and it's going to be a learn from them. Everybody, for them, it's going to be a win or a learn for everybody involved. If the relationship happened, it was supposed to happen. So we've got to stop paralyzing ourselves with, oh my gosh, can I help this person? Can I help this person? And then that affects how we step into it. We don't fully step into it. And then we end up not helping half as many people. We're not helping anywhere near as many people that we could be helping. So just understand that. It was so important. I still remember the day that my mentor said that to me. If you couldn't help them, they wouldn't say yes. And it was so it rang true, right to my core. And I want all of you to grab onto that, because it's a huge gift when it comes to your confidence. Understand that if you cannot help them, they will not say yes. and believe that. And again, it will take faith for you to actually believe that. Okay, number 2. The other thing that we do or think that stops high-ticket sales from happening is this. We start asking this question. Can they afford it? Oh, this is a classic. This is a real classic. And the reason that this is a classic is you are deciding whether or not they can afford it with your money programming. Yours. You are projecting onto them your financial blueprint, your financial programming, and you are using your financial programming, which is keeping you where you are, to decide whether or not somebody else can afford it. And this affects what packages you present. If you make the decision, and I've had time after time after time, even in recent weeks, where I've had clients come to me and say, Chris, they said they couldn't afford it right in the beginning of the call. And you know what? I didn't believe them. Perfect. And then they end up with a buyer. It's happened again and again and again. My mentor used to say, or the thing, I used to hear this all the time. Your biggest problem is that when they tell you they don't have the money, you believe them. You believe them. That is such a profound statement because I've seen it. Listen, folks, I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again. People come to the call and they say they don't have any money. And then at the end of the call, they buy. It happens again and again and again. And I've had situation after situation after situation where somebody starts the call. They start the call with this horrible money story. It's horrific. Absolutely horrific money story that they have going on, right? But I don't buy the story. I stay in the process. I stay in the call and I hold the space that as long as I'm effective in this enrollment conversation and I do everything that I need to do and I know to do to build urgency in this conversation, then the person will find the money. But what I definitely do not do is decide for them. We have to stop deciding for them because what's happening is, again, you're deciding with the money programming that's keeping you where you are. And if you keep making your decisions with thinking that's keeping you where you are going to stay where you are. And I want you to move forward. So we have to stop projecting our money programming, our financial programming onto our potential clients. And think about how this affects you. I want you to ask yourself this question. How do you behave when you think the thought they can't afford it? How do you behave when you think the thought they can't afford it? As soon as that thought comes into your head, they can't afford it, they can't afford it, they can't afford it. What happens? I would guarantee that what happens, let me just erase this number 2, is you immediately shrink. You start to play smaller because now you're making a decision that they can't afford it. So now you collapse into something smaller. You make a smaller offer. Right? Your attitude changes. Your belief changes. Your approach changes. Your dialogue changes. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And then what ends up happening is because all of these things have happened, on the call, you know what happens at the end? Because you've shrunk, you've gotten small, you've changed your attitude, you've changed your approach, you've changed your dialogue. You know what happens at the end? Price objection. Over and over and over and over and over again. And then what happens to make it worse is because you're getting price objection, you lower your fees. And this cycle goes on and on and on and on and on. And what happens is we're putting it on the people. We're saying, well, they're objecting. They're objecting. I must lower my fees. When the reason that they're objecting is because your behavior has changed, because you've shifted your approach, you've shifted your dialogue, you've shifted your attitude. You've shifted the questions that you're asking. Your belief system about the potential client has changed. What you believe about them has changed. Most people, when they come to a call, are going to give you their shit money story. Get used to it. Because a lot of times, if they didn't have a shit money story, they wouldn't be coming to us in the first place. It's when we change, we end up shrinking, we end up creating. We create price objection. Write that down. Price objection is not something that happens to us. It is something that we create. And it's because of all of these reasons that I'm sharing with all of you. Because if I believed every money story that every person has ever told me, I would be the poorest guy on the block. We have to stop getting into this money story and believing the money story and then shifting our behavior. And then it's our shift in behavior that creates the price objection. And then because of the price objection, we now have a belief system that's saying, nobody can afford this, nobody can afford this. So then we shrink our fees and we end up creating what we don't want. And I don't want that for you. Again, I've had situation after situation after situation where a person that was broke bought a $75,000 program. And it doesn't matter if it's $75K. It could be $5K. It could be $3K, $1K, $2,500. It really doesn't matter. We have to stop buying the story because it shifts our behavior. And that's the third item. Remember when we started number 2 there? Number 2 was what happens to us when we believe they can't afford it. That's what happens. It changes our behavior in all those ways. The third thing we have to stop doing is buying the story. We have to stop buying our potential client's stuck story. The stuck story, that's what I'm talking about. It could be a money story. It could be a story about why they can't that is showing up in another area of their life. It might not be money. The biggest gift that we as people in the helping profession can give is not to buy the story of why they can't. As soon as you buy their story and you go into their story, what you're doing is you're going right into crazy town. Right into crazy town. You're going right into their story, right into the crazy that's going on in their head, and you become part of it as soon as you buy it. We talked in the Income Accelerator Challenge about moving a person from their reality to your reality. Moving a person from their reality to your reality. Their reality is the stuck story. Soon as you buy it, you're staying in their reality, and you will not be able to move a person forward out of that reality. We talked a lot about that. Give them the gift of bringing them into your reality, which is, I am not going to buy your stuck story. I'm going to be the stand. I'm going to be the person who actually can hold the space for something bigger for you and not believe the stuck story. And therefore, now we have a chance to actually move forward. Give them the gift of not buying the stuck story. As soon as I buy the stuck story, I can help them. As soon as you buy the stuck story, you can help them. Some of the people I interviewed in the Income Accelerator Challenge, my client, Isaac. Isaac's stuck story. Nobody in Seattle will buy a program for $25K. I did not buy the stuck story. He came, we did teaching. Guess what? He left after the teaching, and in under 2 weeks, he had a $25K package because I didn't buy the stuck story. Had a client that was going to go pitch something for $35,000. She asked all of her colleagues. They said, oh, don't charge $35K. They literally said to her, you'll never get $35K. That's too much. So be careful who you take advice from. Be careful, because here's what happened. We pitched it at 100. And the answer was yes. I didn't buy the stuck story. I didn't buy $35K. If I bought it, I couldn't help her. I wouldn't have been able to help her. I just recently had a client, this was just the other day, who was offering a program and was going to offer it for $15. And it was a workshop. There was a couple, workshop with a couple little pieces in it. And maybe just a tad follow-up. I said, is that the best way you can get the person from point A to point B? A workshop. You know what her answer was? No. I said, so let's not pitch a workshop. So what we pitched was a workshop that had ongoing support. So we added ongoing support to it. And we sold it for $25K. And guess what? We pitched it for $25. Yes. Another 10 grand that would have been left on the table. And not only that, let's forget about the 25 grand or the money, the $25K. The fact of the matter is, because we changed that program and we added the support, the thing that will now happen is from that investment, transformation. Because the right amount of support is in the program. Rather than limping in with the tiny little thing that you think they can afford, you think they'll buy, that doesn't bring the transformation. So it's an additional 10K, right? Difference between 15 and 25, and transformation happens. And then from that, because transformation happens, there's a big ripple effect on the world. And because transformation happens, you have a happy client. Which will then turn into a renewal and referrals. Why? Because we put the program in that would take them from point A to point B, and we didn't think about the money. We were willing to raise the fee and get them in the right program. And look, ripple effect, transformation, happy client, renewals, and referrals. It's not about the money, folks. It's about the transformation.